to Gray Magnolias. It has been a minute, but buckle up. I have a lot to say. So, I'm having just a Tetley tea, really basic. So, I have finished 7 books in the past 5 days. I guess, let me see. I don't know, Goodreads isn't really good because I kind of put it in like a couple days after the fact and it looks like all in one day. But as I left off in my last video, my next read was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. As I speak about each book, I will kind of put it here next to the axolotl my son gave me for my birthday, Christmas. So jumping right in, I started reading the Lunar Chronicles. I was just trying it out, and the way I inhaled this series was like just like I like binge read all of Anne Bishop's like other series. It was such a breath of fresh air. It's the first like YA I've read in a long time. Well, I guess it took 2 or 3 years. Because I did read, I think it's called The Collection. I forget, it's like the dystopian bachelorette or bachelor choosing princesses and all that stuff. I'll try to put a picture here if I remember. But yeah, so I started reading Cinder. Again, I tandem read. I have been, or I try to tandem read with audiobook and reading along with the physical book. I know some people like need to do that to be able to read and like comprehend what they're reading and to let it sink in. I am capable of reading without an audiobook, but it's adds such a great layer to really hear the character's voice, especially the narrator's really good. And I forget, I will put her name here, the narrator. She did such a good job of giving a distinguishing voice and like bringing each character to life in each book. I have my laptop here, so that's why like I'm looking down. So I'm gonna try to give you a cohesive book review synopsis. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I mean, I'd have to say in like the series, it's kind of predictable. Like you can guess it. It's not like a major like shock. I mean, there was one thing that I was like, oh wow, but I wasn't like perplexed. Like, how did we get to that point? It kind of like just made sense, if that makes sense. So this whole Lunar Chronicle series is sci-fi fantasy. It is a fairy tale retelling, and it's, you know, more the author's like own interpretation, and like this little just snippets are taken and really applied to her story. And then how some other fairy tale retellings like kind of literally take the whole story, change names, and it's like, you know, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is totally, you know, a fairy tale retelling, in my opinion. So, and this was a really popular book back in 2012, and I totally missed out, but I think I read it at the right time because, like, it was so good. It was so good. I loved all the characters. I laughed. I cried. I giggled. So we start off, actually, I'm gonna maybe take off my glasses because I realized, like, as I've aged, I can't look at the screen at all. I never have needed my glasses to look at the computer, but lately I just like really can't. Okay, so we're set in the future. There's, you know, Earth and then Luna, people live on the moon, and we have our main character, which is Cinder. And so book 1 is a retelling of Cinderella, and our main character, Lynn Cinder, she is a cyborg. And she has a stepmother who mistreats her, so there's like a lot. I think I have to say there are several trigger warnings of like parental abuse, discrimination, like medical malpractice or medical abuse, and certain aspects of like what's going on. I would have to say a lot of heavy topics. Not that we're, I mean, since it's YA, I mean, at certain points, I was kind of surprised, like, how it was written. I was like, oh, it's kind of like, I don't remember YA being like this. But it really, because, like, you know, there's this constant battle between Earth and Luna, right, on the brink of war and everything. And right now, there is this disease plaguing Earth, leishmaniasis. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. And it starts off with, you know, Lynn Sinner's a cyborg and she's a mechanic and all this stuff, and then, you know, her stepmother is awful. The older stepsister is bad, but she is really close to, oh goodness, really close to the younger sister. But she's trying to like figure out to escape, and she's in this junkyard, and all of a sudden and it's like a fast spreading disease, kind of like it appears on the skin as rashes, and there's like 4 stages, and then hundreds and thousands of humans or earthens have been dying, right? And a lot of the places, like where it mainly takes place is New Beijing. They talk about the United States, Canada, so she does take like real places and interprets them in the story. Hold on. I need a list of character names because, oh no, Aiko. Okay, no, I remember now. It just comes back to me. So, and also Lynn Cinder has like this android who has a faulty personality chip named Aiko, and I loved her character. She's pretty much like a quirky teenage human girl in a robot. So now her younger sister or younger stepsister gets leishmaniasis, and she's like freaking out trying to find a cure, and she's already kind of like met the prince, and he's asked her to fix this old model android. It's really important, and she kind of gets a hint that there is information, and like the king is sick. Like a lot of things are happening. The world is like on edge, and she has like a mysterious past. She's a second-rate citizen with a mysterious past. Her stepmother mistreats her, and like she blames her for her stepdaughter's illness. Peony, I think her name was. So there's like this whole, she finds herself in the center of this intergalactic struggle, forbidden attraction, kind of like difference of classes forbidden, and also like she's cyborg. And as you progress later in the story, this is not spoiler, she's like, her percentage of cyborg is like more extreme than the average, because being a cyborg in this world is like, you had an accident and you got like a cyborg arm, and if you can avoid it, you get a skin graft. So it's like, obviously people don't know, but her cyborg visuals are like, she's very cautious and like insecure about them, very insecure. That's a big, kind of like being different and being shunned because people like discriminate against cyborgs, like, oh, they get out there trying to take the jobs away from us, they think that they're better than us, they have like advancements and whatnot. So we're going through as she's slowly discovering like her secret past. I really don't want to try to give away anything. Again, it is predictable, but it was like adds to the story, like reading and like figuring out. So she realizes who she is. I guess, that becomes, you find that out in book 1 pretty quickly. She is the missing, presumed to be dead, lunar princess, Celine. That there's like rumors, like, is she alive? We need her because there's an evil queen, Lavana, who she's horrible. And like the lunar people have this ability to glamour, like there is magic elements. I wish, maybe I consumed it too fast that I didn't catch it. But I kind of really wish the author elaborated on what the lunar people were. Like, we do understand what they are. They're a different race. They live on the moon. They have this ability to glamour or mind control people. And then within the lunars, there's shells, which they're shunned or killed off. And they don't possess this ability, and they can't be glamored. So I kind of wanted to know more of like, how did they end up on the moon? Were they always there? Were they Earthens first? How did they develop their powers compared to Earthens? You know, because like the big theme of like illusion of like portraying, because like the queen is this impeccably beautiful, unflawed being, and she can control, she can like literally take control of your body and all that stuff. So very adventure, fast paced, great character. I mean, I felt like Cinder took a while to develop, as she's the main character throughout the series and we get introduced to other characters, but I still think it really portrayed well the struggle of kind of like, hey, you're the heir to a whole like freaking planet, and like everything depends on you to save the people, the oppression, the abuse that all these people are going through, to kind of like, what are you gonna do to overthrow, right? So I think after I finished reading all of them, it was like my least favorite, but I still enjoyed it immensely. And then after that, I read Scarlet, and Scarlet, so Cinder is still like a main character throughout the whole chronicle, but we start getting introduced to more characters and more fairy tales. So Scarlet has to do with Little Red Riding Hood, and I think it's one of my favorites, because there's a wolf involved. But we have Scarlet, Scarlet Benoit. She's French. Her grandmother's missing. They're in France right now, and she's trying to like. The police are saying like, oh, you know, because everyone's like ID chipped. Because you scan, like, you know, you get tested constantly by these androids and stuff like that to see if you're sick. And if you cut out your ID chip, it's kind of like, well, they ran away and they don't want to be found. So they kind of like dismiss the case, and she's like, oh, absolutely not. But then, so she's living in this small town in France, and there's like kind of this mysterious, broody character named Wolf, who keeps like, you know, is like there. And then she finds out that a wolf pack took her, and he's a wolf, or he's part of a pack, and he's like explaining things. And it's not like there's shifters. I guess it's a little bit spoiler. These wolves, they do end up being wolf-like because they've been genetically modified, which is kind of maybe like a little bit of tricking, like, you know, human experiments, almost kind of like against their will. They're like recruited young, and their body like autonomy's changed, either physically or like genetically. So that's kind of like a heavy topic. And so Scarlet is kind of like the pilot, because, you know, in the book 1, Cinder escapes on a ship with another character, Thorn. I love Thorn too. Thorn is like a really big favorite when I was like reading reviews and like any little thing I could find. He's like the captain, and he's like, he has constant little comments. They're bickering back and forth, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm so beautiful, you just can't stop looking at me. And she's like, oh, screw you, like, you're not. And so Scarlet is trying to find her grandmother, and now, like, you know, Cinder's in the news, like she's wanted. The Lunar Queen is like, you better find her, you have to, you know, is like desperate to find her. And like, you know, at the end of book 1, you know that Cinder is the long to be thought dead Princess Celine, so the queen's niece, you know, and she's rightful heir to the throne. So Scarlet teams up with Wolf, and Wolf is like this jittery, he's like super strong, and kind of like he's like a fighter, but then also he's like kind of like a little like teddy bear. And oh my god, I loved his character, like, because they do add the element of like alpha and mates kind of. So like now they're just like on the run and she tries to find her grandmother, and she starts revealing things, and then she gets betrayed, but then saved by Wolf, and then she finally encounters Cinder, and then she joins them when she realizes the role her grandmother had in protecting Cinder when she was younger. So I really loved all the Little Red Riding Hood implements of this, and kind of like Scarlet's the oldest. Well, okay. One thing I really wished was that they were aged up just a smidge, because Cinder is only 16, Scarlet is the oldest out of all of them at 18. Thorn, I think, no, Thorn's like 20. I could be wrong. And it's also revealed, like, I guess I'll keep that. I mean, that's not a huge spoiler either. It's not like groundbreaking for the whole story, but like Scarlet finds out that she's also Lunar herself, you know, secretly, because of like all the secrets her grandmother kept. I think this was one of my top favorite. I loved their connection, how she was with him and trying to help him because of like the life Wolf lived, of like being taken away from a family that he really loved to be made into this fighting beastly machine, and you know, this brainwashing and stuff like that. So after Scarlet is Cress, which we do get introduced to Cress already. She's pretty much Rapunzel, but her tower is in a satellite in the middle of space, and she's the hacker. So Thorn, he's the captain of the ship. Scarlet is the pilot of the ship, and Cress is the hacker, which I loved. I love, you know, and her story is Marissa. She was for 7 years alone, stuck in this satellite all by herself with only like her computer system that she programmed to be her younger self. So she's like very, you know, like trying to think of like a lot of like my brain just like went out. But since she's been alone and isolated for so long, and she has her, what was Rapunzel's name? Gerthu, whatever. But so there's, the queen has these thaumaturges, and they're like her henchmen, her like top generals, so to speak, and she took and saw the potential in Cress, because Cress is a shell, so a little spoiler, not really, and saw her ability to hack, and she, you know, isolated her in this satellite in space, and she's hacks for them, always keeps track of things for them, of like for the Lunars. But you know, Cress is following everything that's happening, and she feels like she wants to help. She feels like, oh, this is not right, and you know, she's not completely brainwashed. So in between rescuing her, Thorn gets stuck there, and her satellite gets blasted out of orbit, so they're pummeling down to like Earth and all this stuff. Scarlet gets taken by the thaumaturge. I'm probably saying that wrong. And Wolf is like in distress. I mean, I think he's like wounded, kind of. Yeah, he's wounded and all this stuff. And as, you know, because Cinder thinks like, okay, they're lost cause, and this other Lunar, who was the pilot, Jason gets on their ship. So they're kind of separated. They're pulling to Earth, Cress and Thorn, which is kind of like representing Rapunzel coming down from her tower, and like she lands on Earth and she experienced Earth for the first time, but they land in the middle of a desert, which is tough. So they have like, that's their journey. And also Thorn loses his vision. So that's happening. Cress makes her way to Africa to meet up with a doctor that helped her in book 1. I mean, it is like so many parts, so many, like you get the point of view from everyone at some point. It's not just told from one perspective, which I love. It adds so much. I mean, I can understand it's hard for, I mean, I'm struggling too sometimes when I'm writing to give voice and enough character and a different voice tone and everything to other characters as you write them. But this one was great. The banter between Cress and Thorn. Thorn is a great character. She did a really good job. I forget what's the name of the guy from the Rapunzel movie or Tangled. He's kind of like full of himself, but like not in a like, oh my god, shut up, you're so egotistical, but just like funny and like so many jabs, and he's kind of like strong, level-headed, and like, let's do this, even though he's kind of like scared inside. And one of my favorite parts in this, I was like, oh my god, that is so cute. So Scarlet is taken, and they are pretty much kind of like, she was able to control wolf by being an alpha as well, because he has like this, they control me, but he was able to break out of it because he didn't want to hurt her. So that's kind of like, they're like, oh, they're together, you know, you're each other's alpha. And so she gets taken, and he's waking up, and he's like, he's depressed, he's like distressed. Actually, this happened in winter, but it's still like my favorite part of the whole thing. He's like he's like a puppy, he's like a moping puppy pretty much. And there's just one point where they're emptying crates on the ship to see what kind of supplies they have as they're getting closer to the revolution that they're trying to do. And he holds a gun, and they're all like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, really sad. He's like, this is the gun type that Scarlett shot me with." And I was like, oh my god, that is so cute. Like, that's too funny. So Crest was really good. Like, I mean, it is so adventure packed. You're just learning about everything. All these like moving pieces as they're racing to like stop the wedding, and just, you know, really, really good. So then we end with, it's the longest book as well. It's Winter, and it's told from the point of view of Queen Lavanna's stepdaughter, who is Snow White pretty much. And she is like beautiful and gorgeous. And it's like childhood friend Jason. Jason is the captain that got on Cinder's ship. Sorry, I like fell asleep. So now everyone's like coming together, and Winter she has lunar sickness, where she has refused to use her glamour, her power, and there's a lot of science words that bio something energies. She has stopped using her lunar gift, which in doing so, you become crazy. You start having hallucinations, and it kind of leads to, such of the word, suicide. And she like has these visions of like freezing up, or blood on the walls, the castle in blood, like an ocean of blood, and all that stuff. So she, in her own way, starts helping them, and it all comes together really good. A lot of I think everyone else ends up together except, I mean, Cinder and Prince Kai, which is the prince and king now of the Commonwealth in late Beijing, New Beijing. So I give the whole series like a 10 out of 10. It was great. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was action packed. It was quick pace enough. It didn't drag out. Again, I kind of do wish the author elaborated a little more about Lunars, because I mean, you do understand what happened and why they, you know, their world, and how they're like pretty much like under a communist dictatorship on the moon, and like, you know, only the rich get the best, and the poor and the outskirts of the city are kind of like barely hanging on, and all that stuff. So eventually I do want to read, there's like 2 like collective, but it's kind of talking about like before everything that happened. So I might read them. And then also the queen has her own story, which is called I need a new mouse, I think. It's called Fairest, and I might read it at some point, but according to the reviews, like, it's really dark, like, of like her background of like why she became the evil queen. And she was pretty evil queen. So that was my first time reading anything by Marissa Myers. I highly recommend it, even though it's YA. It is written really well. It is really well, yeah, everything. I really, besides wanting to know a little bit more about the history or the like world itself, again, I could have missed it because I just consumed this so fast. And if you're able to read it audiobook, the narrator, Let's see if I can look it up. Who? I can't. I'm under pressure. Don't look at me. Jesus. Okay, yeah, Rebecca Solar. She did excellent. Excellent, excellent. It looks like she narrates for she does the narration for Rebecca Yarros, the Empyrean series, I guess the Fourth Wing or whatever. She does the Carnival. Stephanie, I'm not gonna read that. Renegades, I do want to read that. It's another kind of like superhero type of situation. She's really, really good. Voice actress, several audiobooks. Yeah, she does a really, really, really good job. So yeah, and then after that, so conclusion with that, the way I devoured that series was just, I mean, it was a lot quicker of a read than the others by Anne Bishop, but I can't recommend it enough. And then after that, I read, real quick here, I read Dukes Prefer Blondes by Loretta Chase, and that one was good. Like the banter between them, because they're both kind of like, they're too smart, and not too smart, but they're really smart, and they just go at each other, was really fun. It was a really fun bantering back and forth, and then hearing Raven battle with his inner self of like, he's like this dry, like to the point, very, literal, and like, no, you love her, what are you doing, kiss her, so that inner monologue, I guess. It was really good. It was fun. I'd give it like a 4-star. Like, it was a fun read. It was fun, and it was like spicy and beautiful and passionate, and I love how they came together. I really like that. And then on audiobook, so I think I've mentioned my hyperfixation currently is Mercedes Lackey. I created a whole list of all the books that I can get my hands on via audiobook through Hoopla or to read them in tandem. I actually realized that my library does have quite a bit, but I wanted to start off with her Valdemar, Heralds of Valdemar series, which came out in 87. And she writes fantasy, women's fantasy, really strong female characters, really great diversity, great LGBTQ plus representation. Like, really, I listened to the first book. It was a quick read. It was the audiobook was only like 9 hours, and I listened to it fast, so it wasn't too bad. So, so we follow Talia, and she's chosen by companion Roland, which the companions are these silvery white majestic horses. She was a runaway, and because she ran away because at the age of 13 she got sat down by where she was from, the outskirts of this kingdom where they're like away from society. They don't, they're not too advanced, and it's like, okay, you're gonna get married, and she's like, what? No, I don't want to get married. I'm only 13. I don't want to be stuck with like an extremely older man that's just gonna abuse me, and I'm just gonna be popping out kids or whatever. And they're like, what do you want? Like, oh, then they think she wants to dedicate herself to religion, a vocation that's like even worse because she like wants to read and she wants adventure and everything. So she wants to be a herald, and herald are kind of like the queen's, the kingdom's army, so to speak. And so she runs away, she finds Roland, and he chooses her, kind of, they have like this little bit of telepathic communication, and she becomes the queen's own elite guard. She has like an awakening of her powers and this connection with Roland, her companion, and it's just kind of like at this book one's kind of like a coming of age of her struggle of like the odd one out at this school of heralds. And there's like sinister things brewing with the heir, and she's kind of like the heir's like guidance thing. It was really good. It was really good. It was a fun read. Again, I like Talia was a breath of fresh air in regards to like a character that wasn't like obnoxiously annoying for being so young. And she just pushed through all her hardships, which was really good. And some things were like funny and like, okay, that's kind of weird, but it was really, really good. So I started book 2 of that, which is, where is it? I started listening to book 2, which is Arrow's Flight. And so book 1 progresses, like she starts off at 13 and it ends when she's like 16, 17, and then now book 2 she's 18 and she's kind of like graduating and she's about to start her 1-year apprenticeship. So I'm really excited. Yeah, she writes a lot of like strong female characters from the vibe that I get of like all my obsessive researching and like just looking at the books, because the covers, I'll put like a series of covers on here. And I did check out one of her books a while ago, but I was just like, I'm not mentally there, and I think I'm gonna do that series later. I think it's because she seems to do kind of a little bit of fairy tale retelling too, loosely based on fairy tales. Yeah, they're Elemental Master series, and I almost read The Serpent Shadow. I don't know what that's inspired from, but I was just like, not right now. I can't right now. So, but yeah, I started with that, and then I have a bunch of others that I'm gonna like jump into. I really am enjoying my whole fantasy journey. It's such a breath of fresh air. Like, it helps me escape. So yeah, I've been reading a ton, and I am currently reading, I mean, this video is already super long, so I might as well keep going. Hold on. Yes. So I'm reading a series by James Rollins, and it's called The Starless Crown. God, I'm only on chapter like 5. I'm gonna try to like read it a little bit slower. But it has to do with a world, so it's like a science fiction fantasy. So it has to do with a world that's kind of stopped turning, so to speak. So one half of the world faces the sun, the god. The other half of the world faces eternal darkness and cold and blistering, and like all these creatures have had to mutate or not mutate, evolve and adapt. And we're going to be introduced. I'm already introduced to the main female character. I'm currently being introduced to another character, and you know, one of them predicts the end of the world, and then there's other characters do something. So far, I'm enjoying it. I have a lot of plans for what I'm going to read after of everything. I have several lists. I'm still going down a fantasy train, and yeah, I've also been writing. Actually, what did I do yesterday? I wrote a little bit yesterday, and I don't even know. I think, where am I at word count wise? I mean, that's not a huge deal, but I don't know, I might regret this, but I think I need to, because I think then editing is going to be atrocious for me when I get to that point. Hold on. Tools. So yeah, I'm at 47,183 words for my story that I've mentioned in several videos past. And I wrote a little bit yesterday on my lunch break at work, and then I was just like, you know what? I think I need to stop writing. I think I need to do a reread, a very rough edit. Like, I'm not gonna like start, if I feel like I need to add a large portion, I'm gonna do it on a separate document and then kind of like give coordinates and try to highlight the other, that might be a little more complicated too. But just like, I know I've changed a lot as I've written, and I'm not keeping track, and I want it to be cohesive, and like, I'm not like flipping through when let's just say I finish writing and I'm at like 80,000 words and I'm reading back, and then I've read through 10 chapters and I realize, hey, that doesn't match with what I said back in chapter 2. I'm gonna go crazy. So I think I'm going to stop adding. I'm at a good stopping point. I'm not like cliffhangering myself. I'm like, oh no, what was I gonna write? But I really want to go back, read, take notes of certain information that I've said, of like physical traits, events and such, names. I haven't added too many names, but I have mentioned several characters. And since I have been reading a lot more fantasy, I realize what I'm missing in what I've written, in the sense of like describing and incorporating a little bit more of the lore and history of the world. I want the character to get that as they're reading, and not like an info dump and be like, well, what does that mean? I read that like 100 pages ago. So I think that's going to be my route. Because I've been writing during my like lunch breaks on my long days at work. Like I eat for like 15 minutes and then like I pull out my laptop. So I think I'm gonna like do one chapter at a time, kind of like just make note, highlight, because Google Docs has a good feature where you can like highlight and then make a comment or note and stuff like that. And I think that's what I'm gonna do, because I do really like the story, and I still really like the story. I really like the concept of everything, but I can already, after reading Mistborn and Blood Over Brighthaven and what else, like the Lunar Chronicles, like really good stories, really good writing, I'm like, damn, I could most definitely use that or try to incorporate that. And I know that a lot of that's really going to go down in the editing process, but I just feel that like I haven't fully veered off course, but I know that like I am not matching with what I said at the beginning in certain areas, and I just want to get that down pat before like, I've read through everything I've written, I made notes, and then I just kind of like let loose and just like write, because at times I do feel, since my flow has like slowed down, I do feel that I'm losing momentum, because in my head I have like a little voice that's like, that doesn't really match kind of roughly what you said like back in chapter 10 and you're on chapter 19, so, and I really do want to give the reader, as they read, bits of information to incorporate with what's going on. And I have done that in like later chapters, but I don't know, I'm kind of repeating myself at this point. So that's my plan for writing. So I'm reading a ton. I'm gonna do my best to, write a little more. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It is a long one. I hope you stuck around. Like I mentioned, I really hope you check out Lunar Chronicles. And if you have ever been tempted to get into sci-fi fantasy or just sci-fi, I think like it's a pretty solid stepping ground, because it's not anything too crazy of like my coworker, that's like one thing he reads is like sci-fi, and I was talking to him like, what is, like, would you like, what type of sci-fi do you like to read? Because there's so many things. There's like space operas, there's just alien invasion and all this stuff, and he was telling me about it. And so I feel like this is like, it's enough sci-fi that is like digestible and understandable, but still kind of like a great story, and you just like, I really just could not put it down. And yeah, I do recommend, if you can get your hands on The Queen's Arrow by Mercedes Lackey. Great for it, especially it being written in the late 80s, it has really held up really well. There was some elements I was kind of like iffy about, like Talia gets really close to one of her one of her classmates, and they're trying to like meet up. Like everyone's very sexually active and stuff like that. And a couple years had passed. I think she was at minimum 15 at that point because she entered the Herald at 13. And so she's kind of like, hey, I like you, you know, like let's try to meet up and do the thing. And I was just like, oh, I was just like, okay, I hope they don't. But they didn't. I mean, kind of like a little spoiler, they didn't. But otherwise than that, like, great voices, great writing, interesting world, interesting concept. I think, I mean, there was like someone trying to like hurt Talia, and then her ward, which is the heir to the throne and everything, and just kind of like how their political system works with the heralds, and how like to create like so there can't be a corrupt ruler. It was very interesting. But I think with book 2 we're gonna get a little bit more action and not kind of like following Talia's journey of you know, struggling with being so different, or how she grew up, and just kind of accepting who she is and all that stuff, and like accepting other people that they can be, even though they're not family and she doesn't know them, that they can be friends. A lot of like found family friendship in that story as well. But yes, before my phone is like, hey, there's no more room, I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you've read anything that I mentioned. What are you reading? If you're writing, how is it going? I really want to keep pushing through and not let it drop off like I have with my other drafts, because from time to time I think about my other drafts and I really want to get into them again, but that'd be like too much. I don't believe any of them are scrap, like okay, I gotta scrap it, especially ones that have like a lot. What is the one? Look at me, I'm just so like rambling. What is it? Okay, for example, I have the series that I've been working on. It's been a minute. What's my word count on here? Hold on. Yeah, like for example, this series, this book, I have 45,000 words, like 45,424, right? And I most definitely need to reread to remember what I wrote. And then what was is it this one? Hold on, this other one. Oh my god, I really want to get back into it. Sorry, this is it. I'm gonna stop talking. Hold on, my word count here. Yeah, okay. This one story has 82,000 words written, and I haven't like yeah. I need to reread it. I don't think it's because I did do a little bit rereading a while ago, but I didn't have to scrap it. So anyways, yeah, I am done talking. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for any new subscribers. I really appreciate it. I'd love to hear more about you guys in the comments of like, you know, what you're reading, what you're into. I might have a partially finished sweater to show. I haven't really shown my knitting or anything since I kind of like kicked off my channel again. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. I hope you are reading something amazing, you make something beautiful, and yeah, I'll see you next one. Bye.